Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today into 18 years of insights from Maria Popova and her amazing website, The Marginalian.
Oh, yeah, the Marginalian.
We're looking at this article where she kind of reflects on everything she's learned,
Yeah.
and it's pretty thought-provoking.
It is. And I think what's so interesting is that she's not, trying to tell anyone how to live their life.
Right.
She's just sharing, like, hey, this is what I've picked up along the way. Maybe it'll resonate with you.
Exactly. It's not a how-to manual or anything. It's more like, I don't know, like signposts along the path, like little things that,
Yeah.
maybe you can relate to on your own journey. One of the things that really stood out to me was how she defines character. She says, how you love, how you give, and how you suffer is just about the sum of who you are.
I mean, that's deep, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you really think about that statement, it's like, whoa.
Let's get into the core.
It's like the essence of being human.
Right.
Yeah. Like how we connect with others, how we show up in the world.
And she's not just talking about romantic love
Oh, no.
when she says how you love.
It's so much broader than that.
It's compassion and empathy, kindness, how we extend ourselves to other people.
Giving, offering support, being there for someone.
Even just listening.
Absolutely. And then there's the suffering part.
Yeah, none of us escape that.
But
Right?
no one gets a free pass on that one. But what I find really powerful is her perspective on strength.
Oh, yeah.
It's not about pretending we don't have vulnerabilities.
Right.
It's about being able to acknowledge them, carry them, without letting them harm ourselves or the people around us.
That's so important, yeah. She has that amazing quote, only strong people are safe people. I think, are the people in my life those strong, safe people?
Right. It makes you think about who you surround yourself with, and also what kind of person do you want to be for others. It's aspirational in a way, like striving to be that person who can love and give generously, but also face those inevitable hardships with grace and resilience.
And she also talks about this idea of eventual recompense,
Yeah.
which I kind of struggled with a bit, to be honest. It's like,
yeah.
even when things don't work out the way we planned,
Yeah, that can be a tough one.
there's still some kind of reward for putting your heart into something.
I see where you're coming from. It's easy to feel discouraged when efforts seem wasted, right?
Yeah.
But think about Walt Whitman. The guy was head over heels in love, but his love was totally unrequited.
Oof.
Totally heartbroken. Yet he turned that pain into art. Wrote, "There is no unreturned love. The pay is certain one way or another."
Wow.
Yeah. His heartbreak became the fuel for his poetry, which ended up touching countless lives.
That's so powerful. So it's like, even when things don't go as planned,
Right.
there can be this unexpected ripple effect.
Absolutely. It's about resilience. It's about finding those new paths, even when we face setbacks. And, she also really emphasizes this idea of self-growth, continual self-growth. And that's tied to kind of like unselfing and choosing joy.
Those feel connected somehow. Right.
Totally. Like letting go of that self-absorption, that ego, frees us up to grow and focus on something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah, and that choosing joy piece.
Yeah.
Even when life throws you curveballs, that's incredibly empowering. But how do you actually do that?
Yeah.
Like when you're facing real hardship?
Well, she brings up Viktor Frankl, the guy who survived the concentration camps.
Oh, wow.
He found these tiny sparks of joy to hold on to, even in that darkness.
Really?
Like a beautiful sunset, a kind word from another prisoner. These small joys helped him survive. It's about perspective.
So powerful.
Right. And she also talks about, finding delight in these everyday moments.
Yeah.
Like an old man walking his dog, a kid on a bike, even just a snail making its way across the sidewalk.
It's about noticing those things.
Intentionally shifting our focus to the beauty that's still there.
Yeah.
And she highlights this poem by Jane Hirshfield. It's so beautiful. She says, "So few grains of happiness measured against all the dark, and still the scales balance."
Wow.
Like we have the power to tip those scales, to choose how we see the world.
That's amazing. Now, she also uses this really interesting analogy to describe deep relationships. She calls them both lifeboats and submarines.
Lifeboats and submarines.
Yo, what do you make of that?
Well, think about it.
Okay.
Lifeboats offer safety and support during storms, right?
Yeah.
But submarines, they venture into the depths. They explore those hidden, sometimes murky parts of ourselves and the people we love.
Okay.
And in those depths, forgiveness becomes absolutely essential.
So forgiveness is like what? The force that brings the submarine back up, keeps it from getting lost down there.
Exactly. It allows us to confront those vulnerabilities and come out stronger,
Yeah.
both individually and as a couple. And that connects to something so important that Popova says, there are infinitely many kinds of beautiful lives. And she wrote that after finishing her book Figuring,
Oh, yeah.
which is all about like these incredible lives, right? It's such a beautiful invitation to, embrace our own paths, define what makes our lives meaningful.
It is, yeah. It's so easy to get caught up comparing ourselves to other people.
Yeah, totally.
But we each get to decide what a beautiful life looks like for us.
Yeah.
It makes me think about, her advice to question our maps of the universe,
Our maps.
both internal and external.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Like, are we holding on to these outdated maps, beliefs, assumptions?
Ooh, I like that. Like, are we truly open to new information? Or are we
Yeah.
just kind of stuck in our ways?
Yeah. And are we challenging our own perspectives?
Oh.
Which makes me think about how much she advocates for fighting cynicism.
Oh, cynicism is a tough one.
It is.
It's so easy to fall into, right?
It is.
It can feel like intelligent or even protective in a way.
Yeah, like you're in the know.
Right. But I think it ultimately leads to stagnation and this kind of like hopelessness.
It can, yeah. It can definitely be a trap. She contrasts it with critical thinking, right?
Yes.
Which is about constructively analyzing and questioning things.
Exactly.
Whereas cynicism is often just like shutting down the possibility of progress.
It is. It's like this wall.
Yeah. So I think fighting cynicism means choosing to believe in the possibility of progress.
Yes, even when we encounter those setbacks. And speaking of believing, she's also a big proponent of embracing idealism.
Oh, yeah. And I love how she brings up that quote from E.B. White. He said that the writer's role is to lift people up, not lower them down.
What a beautiful sentiment.
It is. And isn't that a responsibility we all share no matter what we do?
Absolutely, to contribute to culture in a positive way,
Yeah. So we need to fight cynicism, embrace idealism. What else can we do to cultivate a more meaningful life?
Well, she borrows this phrase from Patti Smith that I just love. Seek out what magnifies your spirit. I mean, have you ever thought about what that means for you?
I'll be honest, that one's kind of new for me.
Yeah.
Like, what exactly does it mean to magnify your spirit?
Well, it's about identifying the people, the ideas, the experiences that really bring us joy, that fuel our creativity,
Okay.
that make us feel truly alive. And then the key is to actively seek those things out. We can't just passively wait for them to happen.
Yeah, it's like we actually have a lot of agency in shaping our own experiences.
We do. Now, this next point from Popova might be a little challenging because, we live in this culture that's obsessed with instant gratification.
Oh, yeah.
She quotes Debbie Millman, who said, "Expect anything worthwhile to take a long time."
Oof, yeah. That's a hard one, but it's so true.
Right. It's easy to get discouraged when we don't see those immediate results.
It is.
But the truth is, those overnight success stories we hear all the time,
Mhm.
they're mostly a myth. True growth takes time, patience, consistent effort. And that kind of ties into another point she makes about, the difference between presence and productivity.
Yeah, I feel like I struggle with that one. It's so easy to get caught up in checking things off that to-do list and forget to actually just enjoy the process.
Totally.
Yeah.
She quotes Annie Dillard, who famously said, "How we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives."
Oh, wow.
Right. It's such a powerful reminder to be present in each moment, to appreciate the small things,
Mhm.
to resist that tyranny of constant productivity.
Yeah, it's a good reminder to slow down. So we need to be patient, present, and believe people when they show us who they are.
That's another crucial one.
That's a good one.
Along with a very important caveat. Don't believe people when they try to define you.
That's incredibly liberating. Like, we have the power to define ourselves regardless of what other people might think.
Absolutely. You get to decide who you are. And the judgments of others, well, often they reveal more about them than about you. Now, she suggests creating these pockets of stillness in our lives to cultivate that self-awareness and authenticity.
Yeah, this is where things like meditation come in, nature walks.
Right. Even boredom.
Boredom.
Yeah, it sounds counterintuitive, but those seemingly unproductive activities are actually essential for creativity, for mental well-being. And of course, she emphasizes sleep.
Oh, yeah, it's funny how we wear sleep deprivation like a badge of honor.
Right.
Like, oh, I only got 4 hours last night.
I know, it's crazy. But Popova reminds us it's a form of self-disrespect. Sleep is a fundamental need, not a luxury.
It's true. So prioritizing sleep is a way of honoring ourselves.
Exactly. And, another thing she really highlights is generosity, particularly with our words. It's easy to criticize, right? But choosing to be understanding, encouraging, that can have such a ripple effect.
It can. It's like remembering there's a human being on the other end of every interaction.
Exactly. And every word has the power to build up or tear down.
And lastly, she cautions us against chasing those external markers of success,
Yeah.
like prestige, status, money, approval.
All those things that we think will bring us happiness.
Yeah.
And she quotes Paul Graham, who says, prestige is like a powerful magnet that warps even your beliefs about what you enjoy. Like, we end up chasing things that don't even truly bring us joy.
So how do we figure out what actually does bring us joy, what truly fulfills us?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
It's a lifelong journey, It requires introspection, experimentation, and the courage to follow our own compass, even when it leads us off that well-worn path. And that leads us to what might be Papa's most challenging piece of advice. Allow yourself the uncomfortable luxury of changing your mind.
Ooh, that is a good one. In a world that demands certainty, admitting, I don't know, can feel really scary.
It can. But it's the key to intellectual humility and growth. Clinging to those outdated opinions just keeps us stuck.
It's true. So embracing the possibility of being wrong
Right.
actually allows us to learn and evolve.
Exactly. And she calls this negative capability.
Oh, I like that.
The ability to sit with uncertainty, to admit, I don't know. It's about valuing genuine understanding more than just clinging to borrowed opinions.
It's like choosing curiosity over being right.
Yes, exactly. I'm starting to see how all these pieces of advice, they all fit together, right?
They do.
Like they're all part of this larger tapestry of living a meaningful and authentic life.
They are, yeah. And she doesn't just talk about these things abstractly. She actually links to these 18 essays
Oh, yeah, right.
in this article that have really shaped her thinking.
It's an amazing collection, They cover so many different topics.
I was curious, like, what are some of the titles that jumped out at you?
Well, there's one about Hannah Arendt's perspective on love and how to live with that, like fundamental fear of loss.
Wow.
Another one explores the story behind Beethoven's Ode to Joy, which is really about resilience. And then there's this one about the seamstress who solved the ancient mystery of the Argonaut.
What?
Yeah.
That sounds fascinating.
Right.
What else is in there?
Well, there's this beautiful piece about John Steinbeck's forgotten masterpiece, The Log from the Sea of Cortez, which is all about like the art of observation.
Okay.
And then another one that explores the life and work of Margaret Wise Brown, the author of Goodnight Moon.
Oh, I love that book.
Right. And her lesser-known poems about love and loss, they're really something.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and there's even one titled What Happens When We Die?
Wow. She really covers it all.
She does, doesn't she? It's like she has this ability to connect all these different threads of human experience.
Yeah, she does. So we've covered a lot today.
We have.
What are some of the big takeaways? What should people be thinking about after listening to this?
Well, I think one of the big things is that the most fulfilling parts of life often unfold slowly. It's a reminder to be patient with ourselves and with the process,
Yeah, it's like that saying, enjoy the journey, not just the destination.
Right. Exactly. But when you're in it, it can be hard to appreciate the process.
It can, yeah. So how do we do that?
Well, I think Popova would say it's about choosing joy even when things are tough.
Okay.
It's about seeking out those sparks of delight like Frankel did in the camps.
Right.
Finding those little things that brighten even the darkest days.
Yeah, that makes sense. And forgiveness seems to be a big theme too, right?
Huge. Not just in our relationships, but in how we treat ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It allows us to move on from challenges, heal those old wounds, and come out stronger on the other side.
Yeah, and that ties back to her idea that there are so many ways to live a beautiful life.
Right. Infinitely many.
Yeah, it's not about following some set formula. It's about discovering what brings you meaning, what brings you joy.
Exactly. And, she also talks a lot about authenticity, about defining success on our own terms.
Right.
And that uncomfortable luxury of changing our minds when we get new information.
Yeah. It's like she's saying, be a lifelong learner.
Yes.
Stay curious, stay open.
And be willing to evolve, to admit when you're wrong. That's what she calls negative capability.
I like that. So you've changed your mind about things, right?
Oh, absolutely. I used to be pretty rigid in my thinking, especially about certain political issues.
Okay.
But as I've gotten older, I've realized the importance of listening to different perspectives, being open to changing my mind, It's humbling,
It can be. Yeah.
but ultimately I think it's made me a more understanding person.
Yeah. So going back to that collection of essays she linked to,
Oh, those are great.
what do you think people could get out of exploring those?
I think they give you this glimpse into how curious she
Yeah.
is about so many different things: art, literature, science, philosophy.
Wow.
But they're all connected by this search for meaning, this desire to understand the world.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to check those out. So for our listeners who might be feeling a little overwhelmed with everything we've talked about today, what's the one thing they should focus on?
Hmm. I think the biggest thing is to cultivate that curiosity about yourself and about the world around you.
Okay.
Embrace that uncomfortable luxury of changing your mind, like we talked about.
Mm.
And remember, a meaningful life isn't about reaching some predetermined destination. It's about savoring the journey itself, with all its ups and downs.
That's beautifully said. And if you're looking for a guide on that journey,
Hmm.
I highly recommend checking out The Marginalian and all the wisdom that Maria Popova has shared over the years.
She's amazing.
You might just find something that really speaks to you.
You might. And who knows, maybe the most enriching questions are the ones we never stop asking.
That's a great point. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into Maria Popova's 18 life lessons.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
See you next time.